Good afternoon. My name is Megan Maloney, and I'm the Chief Academic Officer at American Reading Company. I am thrilled, excited, and just cannot tell you what a webinar treat you are in for today. Our Voices from the Field webinar series is a series that we do across the year where we highlight different partners around different types of work that they are doing. And today's webinar is around writing and how writing is at the front of the curriculum. So I am so excited to have our panelists today introduce themselves from 4 different districts across the country. So we will start with Berkeley. Introduce yourselves, please.
Hi, I'm Amanda Campos from Berkeley 87. I teach at Jefferson Primary in 1st grade, and I've been teaching, this will be my 20th year.
Hi, my name is Susan Lee. I'm the instructional coach at Jefferson Primary in Berkeley, Illinois. This is my 23rd year here in District 87, and this is my 7th year as an instructional coach.
Hi, my name is Paris Branton May. I am the principal of Jefferson Primary School, pre-K through 2nd. I have been in education for 24 years now. This is my 9th year in Berkeley as administrator. Proud Jaguar.
Hi, I am Vanetta Sanders. I am a kindergarten teacher here at Jefferson Primary School. This is my 11th year teaching kindergarten.
Hi, I'm Kelly Zimmerman. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction here in Berkeley. It is my 30th year in education. It's my 4th year in Berkeley 87. And before that, I was a principal for 22 years and a teacher before that. So.
Thank you. Caesar Rodney.
Hi, I'm Barbara Miklas. I am the supervisor of ELA instruction for the Caesar Rodney School District. Proud rider here. I have been in education for 24 years. I am a former administrator of a school who piloted and implemented ARC, and a former reading specialist and coach, as well as an elementary teacher. So excited to be here with you guys.
Thank you. New Britain, Connecticut.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lily Stewart. I am the pre-K-12 ELA coordinator in the Consolidated School District of New Britain.
Marisha Watts, 5th grade teacher at Jefferson Elementary School for the Consolidated School District of New Britain, Connecticut. And I apologize, I do have laryngitis.
Hello, I'm Evie Velasquez, and I'm the Deputy Superintendent here at the Consolidated School District of New Britain. This is my 30th year as well. So I was a primary teacher, a reading teacher, and we are in our 1st year of implementation and loving it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Chanel Lewis, the very proud principal of Jefferson Elementary School in New Britain. This is my 5th year as principal.
Thank you. And last but not least, Reading, Massachusetts.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Burchell. I'm the K-8 Humanities Curriculum Coordinator in Reading, Massachusetts. We are in year 2 of implementation with grades 3 through 5, in year 1 of implementation with grades K through 2.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Sarah Hardy. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Learning and Teaching here in Reading. Paris, just like you, I'm in my 24th year, so we started at the same time. I've also been an elementary principal and an elementary teacher, and just thrilled to see ARC Core in place in our classrooms and loving, in particular, what we're seeing in writing. Excited to share today.
Thank you all. And this conversation will be facilitated and led by Dr. Irvin Scott. Dr. Scott is on the American Reading Company Advisory Board, which we are so delighted to be able to work with Dr. Scott and gain insight from him with his work around the country. Dr. Scott is currently at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Prior to the Harvard Graduate School of Ed, he has worked for the Gates Foundation, but prior to that, he spent 20 years working in the trenches as a teacher, principal, assistant superintendent, and chief academic officer in many districts across the country. We are so excited to have him lead this conversation today, and also wanted to share with all of you that Dr. Scott has a book coming out on April 9th, Leading with the Heart and Soul. And we will be sure to put that in the chat in case anyone is interested in purchasing that on April 9th. So without further ado, thank you, Dr. Scott. Thank you, panelists. I'm excited for the conversation for the next hour.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Megan. And thank you to our panelists. And I'm excited to be here. Former teacher, principal, district leader. One of the reasons why I'm so excited about this conversation is our focus on ELA, our focus on incorporating writing into the curriculum. A former ELA teacher myself. And so I'm just going to jump right into things. I understand that we have an assortment of people in the audience, individuals, educators in the audience who are in different places around the art curriculum, around the art materials, around curriculum and new curricula. And so I want to start off at the beginning. I would love individuals from each of the districts to talk a little bit about why you went in the direction that you went into when it came to deciding on a new curriculum. What was the context of the district? What was going on? Because we have a lot of audience members who are either deciding or they're there, but I want to assume that some are still trying to figure out whether to move in this direction or not, new curriculum. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with, we'll start with Reading, sort of work our way back the way we did the introduction. So we've got an assistant superintendent from Reading, we've got humanities coordinator, maybe one or two people. Sarah, I see you unmuted yourself.
Yeah.
What triggered you guys move in this direction?
Yeah, great question. Great question. So in Reading, we were looking at the results that we were seeing from our students in reading and writing, listening and speaking, and we just felt that we weren't getting the results that we wanted, in particular for our most vulnerable populations. Additionally, we were using a program that was sort of outdated and had some things that really weren't aligned with what we know now is evidence-based literacy instruction. And so we started a search. Our core was one of the programs that was on our list high up right from the start. And really what drove our decision was work with our teachers. Our teachers really did embrace the program after having an opportunity to look through the materials, the philosophy, the idea of kids having books in their hand, the research work they knew their students would do tied to knowledge building. Really was what sold our staff on the program. And we did take a comprehensive look at ARC and a number of other programs, but there were things that just distinguished it. And really that ability for students to be writing in such detail about what they were reading about was one of the things.
Wonderful. Heard a lot of good things. You had certain populations you were targeting, driven a lot by what teachers wanted. You had old materials. Some people might be out there. You've had things that have been around, not getting the impact you wanted. Jennifer or Aaron, did you want to add into anything to that before I go to New Britain?
I actually came in with ARC to this position and back to Reading. So I think Dr. Hardy covered it all.
Wonderful. All right, let's move on to New Britain. That's a good setting for understanding Reading context. Who would like to kick us off with New Britain?
Hi there. So I'm Evie Velasquez from New Britain, and we spent the better part of last year looking at materials and really trying to find something that would give us the comprehensive reading program that we did not have in place. We had pieces of a program, but it wasn't the 7 areas of reading that the new Connecticut legislation actually required us to look at. So this helped us move in the direction of really opening up what is reading, what is comprehensive reading. So we feel really good about that. And it did involve community, teachers, principals. We did a lot of different forums to get input before we went to the board.
Wonderful. I want to elevate something there. I think Sarah alluded to it. Sarah alluded to the science of reading. So curriculum that was aligned to the science of reading. Evie just alluded to something that sort of is new and many districts may be dealing with. And I think you said something about a policy, like a state policy, 7 indicators. Say a little more about that, because sometimes these decisions are not driven by the school district. They're driven by legislation, which says you have to move in a certain direction. Evie, can you elaborate on that, and anyone else from New Britain after that? Go ahead.
Sure. In our state, there was a lot of conversation about the research, right? And the broad research, not narrow research, but broad research. And that ended up having the legislature actually put in place the legislation that published a list from which we would choose from. At the same time, in New Britain, a new superintendent came in and also looked at the fact that, we looked at the state tests, which isn't, there's a lot of data to look at, but we were at the bottom. We were districts at the bottom for all of Connecticut. And so we knew something had to happen. That legislation really matched up with what we needed to have happen. And so this idea that it is comprehensive reading, and that is the language right out of the legislation, right? To make sure that the approach isn't in any one direction, but that we're really paying attention to what each individual student needs, and then build a program that is really responsive to student, and doesn't put program first, but really is involved with diagnosis and really understanding what the research says about individual students.
Wonderful. Anyone else from New Britain, either from the school perspective, or Dr. Lewis is with us, or Lily from the broader ELA perspective, want to add or chime in on around?
So I'll just add, based on what Evie just described as looking at the data and following the state policy of choosing a new curriculum, I was hired to be the ELA coordinator and put the urgency around the implementation. So that has been the main focus of my work, is putting the urgency around the implementation, high quality implementation of the art curriculum. And maybe Dr. Lewis, who's one of my principals on our team, he could definitely talk about how he's leading that work in his school.
Yes, thank you. So, one of the things that really stands out for us with the ARC implementation is the fact that students have more books in their hands than ever before. Students are writing at higher levels with much more vivid detail. One of the things that I appreciate as a building leader from the ARC curriculum is the emphasis on citing textual evidence. And when we look at grades 3 and above for SBAC, that's one of the claims for our students to be able to do and accomplish.
Wonderful. And Dr. Lewis, would it be safe to say that you didn't see this prior to the ARC curriculum? You weren't experiencing, say a little more about what you didn't see prior to ARC?
Not to this extent. We didn't see the level of engagement with both reading and writing as we do currently. Our students are excited. Our students are really excited to learn, with some of the units, right? They're really excited to write about their wow facts, things that they learn in their nonfiction texts, and those facts that make you want to tell someone, I just read this. Let me share this with you. So just seeing that excitement, that engagement, and I think it has that trickle down effect. We're seeing growth in other areas, some of our other assessments that we're taking as well as a direct result of our ARC implementation.
That's really powerful, because we're talking about, thank you for that, Dr. Lewis. We're talking about what the context was prior to coming in. And so you heard Dr. Lewis say the excitement, right? That's something I remember being a principal, going into classroom, and one of the things that I was looking for was some sense of engagement, like even emotionally. I used to say to teachers, I can tell whether your students are engaged just by looking at their faces, right? And so what he's saying is he was looking, he didn't necessarily see that. He's seeing a lot more of that, not to mention the writing. And so just trying to get a sense of that context that drove people, drove educators, drove leaders to moving to a different curriculum. Thank you, New Britain. Great. Let me go to Caesar Rodney. Barbara, you're representing Caesar Rodney on yourself. So what drove you guys?
Well, we've been in this journey for 6 years, so I loved hearing everyone's testimonials because I was there. And then in the last 2 years, we've implemented in the K1 too, and obviously it was all for the same reasons as everyone else. What we originally saw, and that I think we had never seen before, was that wholly integrated reading and writing with authentic connection. And visiting other districts and now seeing it for ourselves, we got to see writing enhancing comprehension and then reading building the capacity to write because of that direct connection. And the biggest thing I think for me was the idea that kids were excited because they were engaged and they had the knowledge from their reading and from what their teachers were reading to build writing. And we took away and we diminished the barrier of not having the background knowledge because of this program and these curriculum materials.
So that excitement there again. Barbara mentioned something also. I might have her come back to it real quick. You said visiting other districts. Say a little more about that, because I think that is a way for people to sort of begin to understand this better.
Sure. Early in the process of our review, we went to another neighboring school district who had implemented prior. And we got to see it firsthand. We saw the students engaging. It was actually in Unit 2 in the informational writing, to see them reading and then taking that and transferring it right into their writing and doing their research. We really realized that they had built capacity there because of the connectiveness of the reading and the writing. And we didn't see that barrier that we'd often seen when students went to go write on their own. They didn't have the background knowledge or the tools. And because of the knowledge building, we've provided that and just completely gotten rid of that. So that was what we saw and got us so excited that we had never seen before.
Wonderful. That and visiting other districts is a really, really important way to figure out if this is the direction you need to go. So we just want to plant the seed for that. The other thing you mentioned was writing enhancing comprehension. Gone should be the days when we say, okay, now we're going to focus on reading. Now we're going to focus on writing. Now, well, they all come together. They come together, hopefully comprehensively, to support one another. And that's what the curriculum does. Thank you. Let's move on to Berkeley. Who wants to kick us off around sort of what triggered, what was the context leading? Go ahead, Kelly. Dr.
Sure.
Zimmerman.
So we did a similar process. We engaged our teaching staff, our leadership, and looking at the selection criteria. I think the biggest component was ensuring that it had an approach that was knowledge building, looking at the science of reading, that there was obviously evidence of highly effectiveness, high quality research, that it approached content from multiple points of view. Allowed our scholars to build their learning from that building student agency. So the apprenticeship was an important component for us. The other piece that was a really strong component is obviously the blending of writing and reading together. But for us, that multicultural component and a strong EL component, and having the authentic Spanish literature and having the books in the hands of our kids that were authentic pieces, and having that authentic daily experiences around writing for a purpose and integrating that. So having all of those components and the integration of all of those together made ARC really the front runner for us when we looked at all the criteria, what we were looking for, and building that authentic project throughout each of the units, so that kids were writing for a purpose, they were reading for a purpose, which makes obviously agency and engagement much stronger over the course of any learning opportunity.
Oh, that's good. You said so many good things. You mentioned the multicultural component and this notion of students being able to see themselves is the way I would describe it also, and authentic writing for a purpose, building student agency. Those were your criteria. It makes me wonder, for the districts that are out there, what are your criteria for the next curricula that you're looking for, right? It's hard to go after something if you're not sure what you're looking for. And so what you hear in these school districts And these leaders is they establish a set of criteria, sometimes established by the state, right? Sometimes the state's like, this is what it should look like. And sometimes you don't have that, but you need something like that. I wonder if others from Berkeley want to chime in, principal or the teacher, what it's looking like on the ground or what. Go right ahead, Paris.
So when I first came to Berkeley, we were the programs were very disjointed, which is the reason why we really went towards art. We had the old school method of the hardcover book with the multiple stories and the scripted teacher manual, right? We're used to that. That's a comfort level that we would see. And then it turned into, well, let's write our own curriculum each grade level. And when the MTSS came around, we would have this long list of kids who had all these needs, right? How could this be possible? Everybody's working hard in this building. This cannot be possible. We start realizing our tier 1 instruction, tier 1 universal, it just was not there. It was very, very weak. And that was really the root cause of why we were not seeing the results that we needed to see. So when we started getting ARC, and you've already kind of hit upon it, we stopped teaching everything in isolation. That's really what's going on, the old school way. That's one thing I love about ARC. Everything connects to the next thing. And it is not just about what happens at school, but what also happens at home. I love the home coach. I love having things with parents coming in and how they are a very big component of ARC and making it successful. So that's why we really, really love ARC and went towards the program, because we had to stop teaching the way that we did yesterday for tomorrow's future, right? So that's why we went towards it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Principal May includes this language that many of us are familiar with, MTSS, the multi-tiered system, and tier 1. And I love the way you described the fact that people are wondering why are kids all over the place? Well, we are all over the place around how we're teaching basic stuff like language and writing. And if you are one of those districts where you are allowing people to write their own curriculum, see me after class. No, I'm just kidding. Just be really cautious about that. And I think ARC is a way of moving towards that coherence. So let's talk about the writing. Some of you started to do that, and I'm going to start with I'm going to just jump in with Barbara Caesar Rodney. Talk a little more deliberately about writing and how it's showing up in the curriculum. The question itself says, how does your curriculum intentionally integrate writing? How are you guys integrating writing more explicitly through the curriculum? And you can also add the question around professional development, training for teachers. We'll try to take on both of those because this is the essence of what we're talking about today.
Okay. So early in our implementation, we just really did a lot of unit and lesson analysis to make sure and internalization to make sure the teachers understood how the writing was being taught and how it was connected to the reading. And then that was more with fidelity, I'll be honest. Our first year, we really tried to stick with our curriculum with fidelity. And now we've moved towards what we call integrity, in the idea that we are building writers every unit, and we interweave narrative, informative, and genre writing with reading all throughout the year to build toward these end of the unit projects. But daily, students are exposed to and are writing. They're discussing, and then they're writing about complex texts. We use the graphic organizers every day. We try to keep the graphic organizer as a tool and as a scaffold, not as the center of the lesson, but as the text at the center. And we utilize our writer's notebooks. And then we really have leaned into using accountable talk as a natural scaffold for writing. When we noticed students were struggling, we took it back to the accountable talk and had them always talk about what they were going to write right before, after they read, and right before they wrote. That way it gave them a student scaffold. Teachers could lean in and add or support. And then we've really started to build, and I don't want to talk too much about it now, but we've really started to build forward a bit more with thinking about a problem of practice that we noticed. There was writing being assigned, and students were going out and they were able to do it, but the structure was there, but they needed a little bit more. So we leaned into a book study with the Writing Revolution, and we met with our ARC representatives and our ARC coaches, and we designed a year-long book club with our reading specialists and our ALTs, our coaches, where we learned about the Writing Revolution. If you don't have it, Wexler and Hockman, it's a great book. And then we also have built SSB, which is our PLC, around that with elbow to elbow coaching. And I want to tell you, we didn't go away from ARC. We just took that tool and we moved where we saw the kids struggling, and we used the Writing Revolution as a tool to support within the content, within reading and writing.
Wonderful. Thank you, Barbara. Several things there. I'm not going to reiterate them, but I'm going to pose the question again to each one of the districts. Barbara did a nice job. She touched both on writing and how it's incorporated, as well as professional development and training. She talked about PLCs. So let me go to someone from New Britain, then we'll do Reading, and then we'll do Berkeley. Take up those two questions. People are wondering, okay, what does writing look like in this curriculum? You may have alluded to it. And what does training look like for teachers? And both, and individuals don't have to answer both. You can spread it out. Who's going to start us off from New Britain?
I could start us off for New Britain.
Great, thanks.
So we've had some professional development around the art curriculum. We're in year 1, which I like to say month 6, because I don't want to lead you on and say year 1. It's actually month 6. So we've been working really hard at implementation. So the kind of writing that's expected in the curriculum is that the kids are expected to respond to text, and they're also expected to write with a purpose or write across genres. So this is kind of different. The way that the writing is kind of inquiry based, and the teacher is like the apprentice to the students, or the students are the apprentice to the teachers, and the teachers are the mentors to the students. So we've had a lot of professional development around writing analysis and identifying student strengths and making sure that when a student writes a long response, that doesn't mean it's a good response. So how are we working the rubrics? So we've been working really hard on that.
Wonderful. Writing analysis, that's some of the professional development that you guys are doing. Hard to get to the students without working through teachers. And so part of the key component of ARC, this is something I witnessed myself, is that professional development with teachers as they begin working with students. Who else wants to add to this question? Learning, writing from we'll stay with New Britain again.
Well, I know that Marisha, she's one of our teachers, and we're highlighting, but her voice is in and out today. So I think, so on behalf of her voice, I'll speak up for her, and I'll say that, in her classroom, I think that she's taken a lot of initiative to mentor students in their writing, and she provides a lot of feedback on student writing and has a lot of writing celebrations. So when you go into her classroom, you see a lot of student writing on her walls with feedback, and you see her meeting with students about their work and giving that one-on-one support. So that's a result of some of our professional learning. It trickles down into the classroom. You want teachers to implement those best practices.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you, Marisha. We're happy to have you. Oh, go right ahead, Marisha. I know you're
okay, so I know the voice
read
is very hoarse. Again, I apologize. But as Lily said, the curriculum itself provides such a great initiative for writing across genres and all subject areas, such as science, social studies, and there's a variety of different types of writing assignments, such as essays, research papers, analysis. So I definitely like to provide students with the opportunity to receive feedback, but as soon as they do, I post it and they love it. It's such an engaging thing.
Wonderful. Did you say research papers? You can just shake your head.
Yes, I did.
And what age are we talking about?
5th grade, so 10, 11.
Okay, could someone please explain to me why we've gotten away from research papers in high school and how powerful it is for students to be doing research papers in elementary school? That's just good for kids, period. I've complained that we've gotten away from research. Okay, I'm starting to tell my age, but we had to do a research paper when I was in high school, and then I made my students do research papers. Why not build that in earlier? And that's what the curriculum is doing. I think that's brilliant. Dr. Lewis, did you want to add anything? I don't want to cut you off.
No, thank you for the opportunity. I will say that, so we have our students doing research papers earlier, right? So when we give them opportunities to present that research, through the celebrations and whatnot, we give them huge advantages and empower them to engage in public speaking well before they're down the road in higher educational institutions. So this is huge. It's great work. It's meaningful. It's purposeful. It's intentional, and it's going to continue to yield great outcomes.
I agree 100% with you. 100%. Let's jump to Reading and then go to Berkeley real quick. Still with this question around professional learning and incorporating writing. Who wants to kick us off?
I can definitely kick us off. So I think in terms of the question around writing, I think both Barbara and Paris said two things that I really connected with. So Barbara had talked about this authentic connection that there is between reading and writing. And I think for me, that's how the curriculum really intentionally sets kids up. They connect writing to reading every single day, and in various forms and purposes. There's like not a disconnect from like what kids are practicing with their reading to like what kids are practicing with their writing, which is super, super powerful. I think, so Paris said everything connects to the next thing. And I think that is true within a grade level, but I also think that's true, and I'm seeing it now, like through the grade levels, right? So while there are definitely fifth graders writing research projects, we have second graders writing research projects, like second graders. And you can see it too in the sense of like, so I was in a first grade classroom. The students were reading their research to me. They actually wrote books as well. And the first chapter the student read, they wrote back in November. In the last chapter, they wrote at the end of January. And just to be able to see the difference in the growth from that first chapter to the last chapter, and have the student be able to like have really meaningful conversation with me about their animal and their adaptations, and using all of this like incredible academic vocabulary, and just have the kid be so proud of what they did, was really, really, it was just awesome. And I've seen that literally in every single grade in all of these celebrations at the end of Unit 2 that we got to go see. But I think that it really builds year to year. And you can see that. I get to be able to see that in my role as a K-8 coordinator. I can see that every day.
I love that example. I love the fact that you, as a coordinator, go in and our audience, as Jane suggested in the chat, kids need an audience, right? Books are for an audience. Research is for an audience. So that's really, really powerful. Thank you for that example, Aaron. Anyone else want to add from Reading? Go right ahead. Edie, go right ahead. You jump right in.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we're in month 6, right? And I want to say that when we roll this out in the early months, that people noticed, teachers noticed, wow, there's a lot of demand for writing here, right? And we weren't all sure. We weren't sure that kids could rise to the occasion, but we have been very pleasantly surprised, right? The kids are writing so much more. And to a teacher, when I walk into the classroom, that's almost always what I hear. Wow, they're writing so much more, right? And so just the fact that we really have a different expectation for the kids now, and it's growing every day. That has been a big game changer for us, I think.
Oh yeah, you're spot on. If you raise that bar for them, they will reach it. But if you keep it low, they'll reach that too. They'll just trip over it. So excellent point. Thank you so much, Evie. Berkeley, Amanda, Susan. Susan, I don't think we've heard from you yet. I wanted to see if you wanted to kick us off, instructional coach.
Sure. So we use our PLC to help drive our writing instruction. We've created a data sheet to analyze student samples for their pre, mid, and post assessment, and then also use the Kinsey developmental scale that's also in the ARC framework to see what levels they're at. And then we'll use their writing samples to see how we can coach our scholars to the next level, or to see like if their reading level is not matching their writing level, how can we coach them up to see like if they're a 1R scholar, but their writing is still in 1G. So what do we need to do or implement in our classrooms to get them where they need to be?
Really appreciate that analysis. Everyone hear that? They've developed a way of tracking how these two skills, competencies, are growing together, or whether they're not growing together, right? That's a good push. Maybe kids are really strong in their reading and their writing is really struggling. And they're seeking ways through analyzing student work, I'm assuming, through their PLCs, that's another powerful point, to determine where kids are around reading. Susan, say real quick the ages that you're talking. Maybe you're doing it multiple.
We're doing
grades.
K-2.
K-2.
And ARC has
Around
an
this
analyzing,
analysis.
and ARC has an analyzing student work protocol that we utilize during our PLC.
Analyzing student work protocol during the PLC, that's more than just curriculum. That is a service that comes along with the curriculum. Really powerful. Thank you, Susan. Others from Berkeley. Go ahead, Amanda.
As a classroom teacher, I can speak to what it looks like in the classroom. And I can say that ARC does a great job of right from the first day of school, teaching students that everybody is a writer, that writing looks different, but everyone is a writer. And we celebrate where everybody is and everybody's accomplishments. And we are writing all morning long in our ELA block. We read a story, we write about our story. We are learning power goals during our reading lab. We write with our power goals to practice them. We have writing time where they're focused on creating their books. And so it really is great to see how much they are writing. And it's not, oh, we're writing, because they're just so used to it. And it's just such a part of what we do. And we also at our school do a great job of celebrating the writing that we see, and we treat everybody like they are an author. I know in first grade, we're going to be having a publishing party to celebrate the end of our family narrative unit. And so they're all going to share their family narratives and have a party to celebrate that. And then like Susan said, it's really nice that we can use our power goals to help drive our writing instruction so that we have more of a focus of how we can help each student when we're conferencing with them to help them bridge that gap between their writing level and their reading level.
Wonderful. Everyone is a writer. These celebratory events around the authorship, really, really important, powerful publishing parties. That's what you mentioned, which I just love. You know, this is a complete aside. Megan and them may never ask me back again, but I just want to plant the seed. The way we are talking about writing and reading, I wish there was a curriculum that caused us to talk this way around math. Everyone is a mathematician. I think this is a major challenge. Students don't see themselves as math people. We talk about you can be a writer. Everyone's a writer. Everyone's a reader. Everyone can do math. Okay, so back into the ELA. All right. Powerful, powerful stuff. Anyone else want to add from Berkeley?
I'll add.
Yes, go right ahead, Vanessa.
So I just want to say, so kindergartners are researchers also. We do a little bit of research in kindergarten. We have a research lab where the kids are able to look through books to discover whatever the topic is for the day. And they take those ideas and they're writing about those ideas. And I think in kindergarten, we are really building the love of writing. We're building the stamina. We're motivating students to understand that you are writers, even in kindergarten. And the growth that we see from the beginning of kindergarten till now is amazing. So we have students now, right now in kindergarten, writing 3 cohesive sentences. And that's just amazing, yes. And the vocabulary, oh my goodness, ARC, the vocabulary that my students have developed is amazing. Sometimes I'm in shock. Ms. Zimmerman will come in and the kids will say something that I have no idea that they remembered. So it's just amazing how everything is connecting.
Love you in kindergarten.
In
Yes, in kindergarten. Love you bringing up that vocabulary. Love you bringing up that mindset. What Vanetta and Amanda alluded to, and they're on the ground. Let's just acknowledge, right? They're on the ground with the kids daily. So that perspective is really powerful. And I always appreciate when we bring voices directly from the classroom. But what they're talking about is a mind shift for students. Students have to see themselves as something. Well, that mind shift requires teachers to see students as this. And then it also requires a curricula that supports what you're trying to get students. So you see that through line of curriculum and teachers and kids going on. I want to make, Kelly, you had your hand up. Let me jump to you.
I was just going to build off of when you were talking about the publishing parties. One of the things that they do every time we have a publishing party at the end of our unit, it is a grand affair at Jefferson. Really, in most of our buildings, we bring all of our families in. It is everyone, all hands on deck. All of the district we try to come over and see, and the kids are so proud and have such confidence to share their writing, their projects, and they have such tremendous knowledge to share that they have learned over the course of the unit. And it is an amazing experience. It is, 200 plus people packed into the gym to learn. And I learn a lot of facts, let me just say, from our kindergarten, well, all of our kids, but I learn a lot of facts from our K-2 kids for sure about the units. So I appreciate the work that they do in that regard.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kelly, and for being on the ground to get that information engaged. Go ahead, Megan. I see your hand up.
Yeah, yes, I see a question in the chat, and I think this is the time to answer it in terms of in kindergarten, how did you start implementing the writing? How did you get your kindergartners to become writers? Can we hear from the kindergarten teachers?
All right. I can respond. So we start writing with, every morning we have a morning message. And in the beginning, the morning message is a lot of teacher talk and I'm writing a message, but a couple of weeks in, we are inviting the kids in. Now, we're asking them questions to help compose the message. Then a couple of weeks, we're sharing a pen. So now with or the marker. And so now morning messages being written by students or with students. Or we're all writing a message together. We write every single day, and it's I want to say it's not pressure writing. Write whatever we give them kind of a topic, but we say write whatever your heart desires. Write what you want me to know. We try to help the students understand that writing is another form of communication. Kindergartners like to talk a lot, so we tell them writing is another form to express yourself, and so we encourage them to write about whatever they want to tell the teacher or they want to tell someone about. And they do talk a lot with each other. They talk about what they're going to write about. Then they go write and they talk about what they wrote about.
Wonderful. Anyone want to? Thank you, Vanetta. Anyone else want to? Yeah, go ahead, Amanda. Amanda, you're
Sorry. I'm not kindergarten, I'm first grade, but I do think that it's fairly similar in where we basically create a safe space for them to take risks, and we treat them all as writers, even if it looks like hieroglyphics in the beginning. And we do a lot of modeling. We model as the teacher. We have peer models. And like Vanetta said, a lot of talking about what you want before you write it is really how we get them started.
Wonderful. Go right ahead, Paris.
I do want to say, because I don't want to sugarcoat it, that first year there were some tears. I don't want to sugarcoat it, right? But trust the program. When we first went around, it was like, you want these kindergartners to do what? You want second graders to write research papers? Okay, let's see how this happens. But Aaron truly said it earlier. When you see the progression through the years, now that they've had a solid school year under their belt, now we're about to go into year 3, you see it. Those that have gone through the program, when they go to the next grade level, writing and reading, it is not new to them. It's just the way of the culture of what I'm going to do. I know that you're going to allow me to be creative. I know I get to research what I want to do. It becomes a love of learning. Trust the program.
Beautiful. I'm so glad you said, go right ahead. Jump in, Aaron.
I think what Paris just said also connects to the professional development piece too, right? I think the first year of any new program, there's just a lot for folks to learn, and it's really, really, really overwhelming. I mean, the second year is still overwhelming. But I think in terms of professional development, I think like really partnering with the ARC coaches has been really important to make it not just like ARC PD, but ARC PD for Reading, in like what our teachers need, in addition to like what we know ARC knows we need because they've been doing this for a long time. But I think there's also, I think we try to really keep a balance between like the new learning and then just like the time to reflect and apply, and really trying to balance that out for teachers as it is really, really overwhelming.
Yeah, so good. Go ahead, Lily.
I definitely agree that professional learning has been critical to our success in these 6 months. And we've been very successful. And we've opened our doors to other districts to come in and see how we're implementing ARC. And it has been a mind shift that a K and a 1 student can do research, that a K and 1 student can demonstrate mastery, even at this time of the year, right? We have kids that are ready for what's next. And so the professional development has been hand in hand, like professional development, supported planning time. We've been really leveraging our coaches. That has helped so much, because teachers need that person that they can go to and ask their questions. And, administrators have been trained. When we talk about professional development here in New Britain, basically everyone gets professional development, not just teachers. That staff at all levels get professional development.
Powerful, powerful. I'm so happy, and you guys went there naturally, that we began to talk a little bit about the pain points. Because there are pain points. And I think the last thing we want to do is make it seem like everything's perfect. And Principal May kicked us off saying that crying's going to happen. And then others added, Aaron added, that there are challenges around all of this. And so what I would love, because I'm looking at the time, definitely going to end on time. Anyone else want to add? Things are great, but it has been difficult in some way. I mean, if you want to add any of those tension points, or maybe there's a tension that you have, right? Go ahead, Assistant Superintendent Zimmerman.
I think one of the things, as with any new implementation, the K-2, I think, had the benefit of their beginning their educational journey, right? But with our intermediate, our middles, at the start of a new curricular materials implementation, huge shifts in pedagogy. So you have students that have not experienced this new implementation from the very beginning of their learning journey. And so we have many gaps that we're trying to fill, right? As I'm sure most districts are. And so that, I think, has been some of the challenges for our intermediate and middle school teachers, especially to see, when are those benefits coming? When are we going to see that catch up, Kelly? You keep telling me it's coming, as Paris was saying, and it is. So it's been really critical for us to show the data that we're seeing in just the second year with our K and our 1 students. And we're closing gaps at our 3 through 8, But it's hard to, continue to build a house when you have a weak foundation or you have holes in those foundational components. And so I think that's where some of the challenge or pressure points are for intermediate and middle schools, especially. And I think that's when you look at writing and reading together, that challenge of seeing developmentally as they're getting older, they might be a couple grade levels below in reading, but our teachers, especially at the middle school, and you have other content areas, are like, yeah, but I'm a science teacher and I need them to write like this. I know, but they're reading 2 or 3 grade levels below. So we've got to help them understand. And the beauty of having the school pace data when we're in the middle school is looking at that data with all of our content teachers and really building their awareness of where our students are really performing and what that really looks like. So we broaden it to all of our content teachers, and we've looked at it from the lens of everyone in our district. All of our teachers are reading teachers and writing teachers in every content area at the middle school. So that has really broadened their understanding and helped lower some of those pain points. But the other piece for middle school that's a huge shift is many middle school ELA teachers. That when they went to school to become ELA teachers, they weren't taught how to teach kids to read. So when you have kids that are below there, that's a whole nother ball game for them when they get into doing small groups and the equitable conferences and using toolkits. That's just a really shift in pedagogy for them. That has been a lot of support that they need around coaching from the art coaches, from our instructional coaches.
Yeah,
to support.
that elementary, middle pivot, many challenges there. You mentioned so many good things. Evie, you wanted to jump in, go right ahead.
Sure. So we just, we're 6 months in. That decision came only last spring, right? So a year ago, we implemented, and we had this challenge, right? People saying, is this the right program for our students, right? And I could, peel back that onion and try to understand that. But what we've consistently said is this is a comprehensive program. It is not about one type of child, right? This is about all the areas of literacy, really. And it is a framework where the teacher will be making decisions as well. And we're gonna meet kids where they are and give them what they need through this framework. So it isn't any one type of approach, right? And we continue to say, right, there's opportunity to meet the needs of every child. We recognize that they're all individuals growing at different rates who need different things. And so it's very good that this is a comprehensive program.
Yeah, this is not for one type of child. Thank you. So important. This has been amazing. Go ahead, Megan.
Yeah, I think as you're sharing that, Evie, I know there's a question in the chat about at-risk and dyslexia students. So would love to hear from anyone that has seen how the use of ArtCore is supporting, I think what Evie just said, all students, but maybe highlight that if anyone has some experiences with that.
Yeah, just raise your hand and I will call on you. Specific populations. Go right ahead, Kelly.
So that's one of the things that I would say we have seen some of the greatest growth. Our self-contained categorical students also use our ARC curriculum. And I am just absolutely blown away what I'm seeing our cross-categorical students K-8 being able to accomplish. Their writing just absolutely phenomenal in terms of the growth, the vocabulary. Kids that walked in to the cross-categorical classroom not being very limited in verbal skills, having no reading skills, are reading, are writing, being able to build their expressive vocabulary. We've just seen such amazing results. Probably the biggest fans, I think, are some of our cross-cat teachers, as well as it does provide, because it's so focused on a very specific power goal and how to that continuous improvement cycle. It really allows our inclusion teachers our special education teachers to hone in on those specific goals and being able to see that alignment to our special education population, as well as our EL population, and being able to align what they're supporting with what the classroom teacher is supporting. And so we are able to see that service be a full circle, and they're not working on something different compared to what the teacher is doing. And school pace is the conduit to that communication piece. I can look at, see the evidence, and then I know where to pick up where the teacher's left off.
Yeah, and I'm hoping I might tell my years in education by saying this, but I'm hoping there's less pulling out of students from like whole group instruction. Absolutely, because those teachers, those special ed and ELL teachers have the same professional development, so they should know the very hard curriculum that the other teachers are. Great. Ed.D, go ahead.
Sure, it's Evie. But I just wanted to say for multilingual learners, our story is actually that the year before this year of implementation, we implemented with dual language, Spanish, English, and saw amazing results with a smaller group of students, but it was what prompted us to implement with the entire district. I also want to shout out Windham, Connecticut, which is a former district of mine, but they've been 5+6 years in their dual language program. And then they also went district wide. We use their data to inform our decision in New Britain.
Wonderful. Learning from colleagues, learning from other districts. This is amazing discussion. We're going to end on time. We've got 3 minutes, and I would love to do this. So if we could hear from each participant, I want to hear all that joined us today. And I want you to give advice to people who are listening, but I want you to do it. This is where the tricky part is. In 3 words or less. 3 words or less. If you hyphenate a word, then maybe we'll give you 4. But this is the way we're going to figure out. This way we're going to get great advice from thoughtful educators, but in a truncated time. You can do it. I'm going to tell you the order that I'm going to try to go in. I'm going to start with Principal May, and then I'm going to do Evie, and then I'm going to do Lily, and then I'm going to do Kelly, Sarah, Susan, Dr. Lewis, Marisha, Aaron, Barbara, Vanetta, Amanda. That's the order I'm going to try to go in, unless your boxes switch around, and I could be all confused. 3 words or less. Kick us off there, Principal May.
I'm gonna go back and say it. Trust the program.
There you go. She already planted the seed. She set a high bar too. Evie?
Keep expectations high.
Keep expectations high. Curriculum does that. Maybe someone from ARC can type these in as they are being shared. Lily, I think you're next.
Expect more.
And she did it in less than 3 words. Okay. Powerful. Expect more. I think Assistant Superintendent Kelly, you're next.
They will rise.
Powerful. They will rise. Sarah?
I'm just going to say build knowledge.
Build knowledge. Build knowledge. Wonderful. Susan?
Everyone can write.
That's a lot about what we're talking about today. Everyone can write. Every single one of them. Go ahead, Principal Dr. Lewis.
Students will thrive.
Students will thrive. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Marisha.
Have grace and include everyone.
Have grace and include everyone. And since you were a horse today, we're going to give you a couple more words. But that's great job, Marisha. Aaron?
The kids can.
The kids can. Yes, powerful message. Barbara?
Text at the center. Text at center.
Text at, that's all right. Text at center. Text, it's still about core text, whether it's students writing it or reading text. Good job. Thank you. Vanetta?
Keep it exciting.
Keep it exciting. Keep it exciting. That's all. We're all looking for that for learning for kids. Go ahead, Amanda. You're our last one, I think.
Celebrate every success.
Celebrate every success. All right. If I were in my class, I'd have us all snap it up. We'd do like this because I like celebrating. Powerful, powerful. Let me turn it over to you, Megan. Great job, everyone.
Well, I just want to thank all of our panelists, Dr. Scott, as well as our participants and the chat and the questions. Just so many exciting, important work happening across the country. And it is evident that the districts that joined us today are on the right path for their students. Thank you for joining. We look forward to next year's Voices from the Field series and excited to hear from all of you. Have a great afternoon, and thank you all participants and panelists.